Welcome back for our Heart of the High Plains series. I'm Princess Brian. I'm joined with Rhoda from Paso to tell me a little bit more of what they do in the community and about the organization. So first, just tell me about Paso, how long you guys been out in Amarillo.
Sure, Princess. So Paso has been an organization in Amarillo since 1987. And I know a lot of people probably don't remember from back then. That was a while ago. But that was whenever the HIV and AIDS epidemic kind of really became the forefront of conversations. People were just discovering how it impacts the human body, and there was a need across the country for organizations like Paso that could kind of come in and help support people who were finding that they were HIV positive and didn't know what to do or where to turn to. So we just kind of have kept going, and we've been a support system for people living with HIV since 1987.
And tell me, during that time when this organization kind of took off, that's when we saw a lot of AIDS and HIV kind of getting highlighted in the country.
Yes.
Why was it important to have that in the Panhandle?
Because, let's see, it was important because HIV doesn't pick and choose who it lives in. It just needs a warm human body. That's kind of a common misconception that a lot of people have about HIV, that it's only going to impact certain groups of society, but that's not true. At Paso, we have clients of every walk of life, every background, gender, orientation, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. We have people that were born with HIV because their mother was HIV positive. And so having an organization that can serve anybody that is living with HIV, I feel is very important.
And tell me about that, the stigma that comes with this disease, and people have the idea of what HIV and AIDS is, and it's really much more than that.
Yes. So the stigma around HIV and AIDS started whenever people were first being diagnosed, and they didn't really know what it was. And it just so happens that the first people in the U.S. and in other countries across the ocean that were being diagnosed with HIV were gay males.
Yeah.
And so it got labeled as gay cancer,
Yeah.
which is far from the truth. It's not a cancer, and it's not something just that gay people can get. And so the stigma is deeply, deeply rooted. And there still are a lot of people today that just because they don't understand of HIV and they don't understand how it can turn into AIDS, that they kind of latch on to that old way of thinking and that stigma, and that's how it carries from generation to generation. One thing that Paso tries to do is we try to educate the public. That's one of our initiatives, is education. And anytime that we can, we're offering lunch and learns to where we have people come in and speak about HIV and how it impacts different groups of people and how it can differently impact someone living in a more rural setting than it can in, like a larger city like Amarillo. We also have an educational symposium that we do at least once a year. Typically, it's in the spring. We've already got it booked for 2026. It's going to be in April, and we partner with Amarillo College, and it's almost a full day of learning different topics that all relate back to HIV and how it impacts humans.
And speaking on the education aspect, you can't really help as a community if you don't know about it. So tell me about the education efforts you guys are making and how that is going a long way for this disease and bringing more attention to it.
So one of the educational components that is coming more to the forefront is how people are aging with HIV.
Okay.
So back in the day, whenever it was first being discovered and people were first being diagnosed with it, it was ruled as a death sentence. But now, the way that medical technology has evolved over the years, if a person is okay with taking their medication once a day, then they are living long, long lives. And so aging with HIV has kind of been a newer topic that's coming about, which is very interesting because it's just not something they used to think of.
Yeah.
And I think it's amazing that now this is considered kind of a, not really a problem, but it's like we're drawing more attention to it because people are aging with HIV.
And working in Paso, tell me, does that stigma, do you still hear it from people when they're first hearing about you guys and getting the resources and stuff like that that people may have had in the 80s when it came to this?
So for the most part, when we're talking to people, they're respectful of us at first, until they really learn. And then they're understanding. They don't have to have that common courtesy respect when they're talking to us about it, because then they learn and they're like, oh, okay, so this really isn't, it's not a death sentence. It's not gross, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
But out in the general public, there are still people that their first reaction is, ooh. And it's like, no, it's not ooh.
Yeah.
It's not. It's fine. A person can take one pill a day and they're perfectly there. Other than knowing that they have HIV, they have no other signs that they have HIV.
Yeah. And you mentioned a little earlier that people don't even know the difference between HIV and AIDS and how they kind of work. Tell me about that difference and kind of what you've seen from people when they're hearing about it when they first are trying to find out.
So the way that HIV affects the body, it latches onto your DNA, and it uses your own RNA to replicate itself. And so the medication suppresses the virus. It weakens it to where it's not able to reproduce in your system. And if a person is compliant with their medication and they're going to the doctor and getting checked every 6 months, then the doctors can determine that the medication they're taking is working. It's suppressing that virus to where it can't reproduce. So your viral load gets down below a certain level. And according to the CDC, if it's less than 200 in a unit on the blood test, then that person can't transmit it to somebody else. So that virus is so weak that it's not going anywhere. Now, on the other side of that, if for whatever reason their medication's not working, or some people take medication vacations, which is not recommended, but it does happen, and some people, they don't like medicine. They've had an event in their life where they can't afford their medicine, whatever the case may be. If they're not able to suppress the virus, then it will replicate and replicate until it reaches a very high level, which can be anywhere, up to over 1 million. And what that does to your immune system is it suppresses your immune system. So it's kind of like a balance, and it goes back and forth. So if the virus is really high and your immune system's not able to take over and suppress it, then that is whenever a person gets diagnosed with AIDS, is when the HIV is so high and their immune system is not able to function.
And you mentioned just a little bit ago that there's a certain percentage is not even transmitted. And I think a lot of times people have this stigma, or they may feel like standoffish when it comes to this organization because they think that it could get transmitted more commonly than it actually can. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Right. So the only way that a person can transmit HIV is through blood or a sexual fluid. So you cannot get it by using the toilet after somebody. You can't use it by kissing, hugging, shaking hands. Definitely cannot, not even come close.
And having these conversations, tell me, how far does that really go for this virus and people knowing what steps they could take and what's out there for them?
I don't really know. What do you mean?
Just pushing the conversations out about it and not making it a taboo thing. Tell me, how far does that really go for research to continue, education to continue for it?
Okay. By having more conversations like the one we're having right now, and trying to get the word out about how HIV is transmitted, what people can do to reduce the transmission rates, it's hugely important. It reduces stigma. It's, just the education piece of it alone. The more you know, I mean, that used to be like a whole thing on TV, the more you know. Well, it's so true. The more you know about HIV and how it works, the better protected that you are, and the better that you can also spread the word and just inform your friends that, it's really, it's not a death sentence. It's not something that you can just pick up super easily. And yeah.
And we were talking about it a little bit before the interview. Latinos, about 30% are infected with HIV, and in the South, it was about 50%. Tell me about those numbers, and especially being in the Panhandle, where we see a large Latino population, and also being in the South. Why is it even more important to push this out?
Yeah. So in some recent years, the rate of new HIV infections, 30% of those were Latinos, and 50% of those new infections were in the South. And so kind of what that is saying is that there are a lot more factors that can contribute to the spread of HIV than we may think.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about factors like income, because if you have a low income, you may not be able to afford health insurance. And if you are not able to afford health insurance, you may not be able to afford to go to the doctor regularly. And yeah, that was bad. That's really not.
It's okay.
It's really not. I'm kind of getting things mixed up. That's where we come into play at Paso. So I'm gonna start that over.
No problem.
So that's where we come into play at Paso. Is there are many factors that may impact a person's life who is living with HIV, that we can step in and help them with that burden.
Yeah.
And it may have been just kind of like a one-off thing. Like, you don't expect to lose your job, but it happens. And for some people, if you lose your job, you're also losing your health insurance. You may lose your home. You may lose your transportation. And we have programs within Paso for our clients that allow us to support them in each of those categories.
Yeah.
We can help them with housing assistance. We can help them with transportation to and from their doctor visits or to the pharmacy to pick up their medication. We can help them pay for their medication. HIV medication is very expensive if you don't have insurance. And if you've had an event in your life where you lost your job, you may have lost your insurance. Well, Paso can step in and help you out with that. We have a pretty large program for our clients that are on ACA insurance.
Okay.
We've got some pharmacies that we work with. We try to make it as easy as possible. So if they're one of our clients, they can use one of our pharmacies, and that pharmacy sends us the invoice so that they can get on their medication, steadily take it, become undetectable, and then all while they're maybe trying to find a new job with new insurance. It kind of relieves some of the burden on them so that hopefully in the end they can graduate from our services and be able to be independent again.
Yeah. And tell me, how can the community help you guys? What's your programs that are supporting people with HIV in the area?
How the community can help us?
Yeah.
So we do receive quite a bit of funding through state and federal grants. That money comes with certain rules that we are to spend it in certain ways. And it's the medical visits, getting the lab work, the medication, insurance. We can send them to the dentist. We can help with housing if needed. We've got some categories that we have to stay in with our grant money.
Okay.
Where the community can help is through donations and participating in our fundraisers, because that money, we can use it for other programs to help our clients. And we can also use it to go above and beyond what we get for grant money.
And speaking of fundraisers, you have your Turnabout event. Tell me a little bit about it. What can people expect?
We do. Yeah, so our Turnabout this year is on November 8th.
Okay.
That's a Saturday. The theme is Ready, Steady, Go. So if you're not familiar with that, it was a early to mid 1960s British music television show.
Okay.
I kind of think that it maybe laid the groundwork for MTV. And American Bandstand, and maybe some Soul Train in there too.
Yeah.
It was like the OG. And so if you kind of think like maybe Austin Powers, but a lot cooler.
Okay, yeah.
Right before the hippie era.
Yeah.
That's what Ready, Steady, Go is. So we're going to have performers on the stage. It's kind of a cabaret style show.
Okay.
Where your traditional performer roles are flipped. So someone in the audience might be really loving this song and loving this performer, but they're like, wait a minute, who is that person under all that hair and makeup? I think I know them, but I'm not sure. So it's kind of a mystery to solve as well.
Yeah.
It's a whole lot of fun. We have a silent auction that goes on during the event.
Okay.
And I'm not going to lie, a lot of people come to our event and bid on our items in the silent auction because it's very close to Christmas by that time. And it's a great way to shop for Christmas presents.
Yeah. And tell me ticket prices. What does that look like? How can people buy? How can they get more information about it?
So to get tickets, we have a link on our social medias and on our website, which is panhandleaso.org, where we also have a ton of educational information there as well. But for the turnabout tickets, we've got a range of tickets that are a range of prices. So we have some tables that seat 8 people, and those are going to be anywhere from between $1,200 down to, I believe, $800. We've got a few select tables that seat 10 people. We've got some cabaret tables that are 2-seaters, and those are $150. And then we'll always have our general admission tickets that are $25 a pop.
Hey, and tell me, working in Paso or working with the clients that come through your organization, what kind of stories do you hear from them? How far did this really go for them as clients?
So we get a lot of feedback from some of our clients that say, I don't know where I'd be without Paso. I might be dead on the street because they just don't know where to turn.
Yeah.
Receiving a diagnosis that you're HIV positive, for some people, they take it as devastating. Some of that goes back to the stigma and the miseducation about HIV.
Yeah.
We have good relationships with many physician offices in Amarillo. We have a really good relationship with the City Department of Health. And anytime they have a patient that has a blood test come back that says they're HIV positive, they give them our information and say, you need to call Paso.
Yeah.
Call Paso, they can help you. And so we do get clients that whenever they first come to us, they've just received a diagnosis of HIV, and they have no idea what to do or where to go.
Yeah.
And so we have our case managers that are very knowledgeable and very kind and compassionate, and they can come, have a meeting with one of the case managers. We give them all the resources that we possibly can. We get them signed up for as many of our programs that we can that they're eligible for, and then, change their lives.
Yeah. And speaking of your staff, I forgot to mention with the 30% that you guys also have bilingual staff as well to help those clients. Can you talk about that?
We do. So right now we've got 2 people on staff that speak English and Spanish. We use an interpreter service as well because we have people that speak not English or Spanish.
Yeah.
That's fine. No problem. We'll get our interpreters on the phone, and we can service them just as well as we can anybody else.
And finally, if people need to reach out to you guys, get in contact with any of the resources you offer, how can they do so?
So we have our website, panhandleaso.org. There is a contact form on that.
Okay.
If somebody fills that out, the email goes straight to me. So I can kind of review it and then figure out who needs to be their first point of contact. They're always welcome to stop by the office when we're open. We have a way to email our case managers through our website as well. And we also answer direct messages on Facebook and Instagram.
All right. I think that is everything.